Hi and welcome on to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal and also managers, right? Because there's only one story in town today, and that is Unai Emery is going to be the new manager of Arsenal Football Club. The news broke yesterday. We were all over it yesterday with our Transfer Daily special. And again today, it's all about Unai Emery. And this came right out of the blue. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Unai Emery was 66-1 to take over at Arsenal. That's how far out he was. And he's come from nowhere. He's outflanked Arteta, and he's now going to be named later on this week as the new manager of Arsenal Football Club. And there were so many stories flying around yesterday about the various situations. Arteta, for instance, I even heard a story where apparently they were saying that Arteta, when he heard what the budget was, told Arsenal to do one. Basically, he doesn't want it and decided to stay. There's so many different rumours going around. But it does look like in this process, Arsenal have been pretty meticulous in the way they've gone about it. The rumour is that they interviewed 10 different people. Arteta was definitely the favourite to take over the job. Ivan Gazidis and Josh Kroenke, apparently they really, really like Arteta. They were the ones really pushing for Arteta to get the job. However, at the last hour, they sort of looked on it and they've said to themselves, this is a gamble. And this is some of the things that I've been talking about on my show over the past few days. I've been saying that, listen, it's a big gamble that Ivan Gazidis and the board members are taking. Those guys backing him, because a gamble that if it turned out good, everybody would be saying, Ivan Gazidis, you genius, you were brilliant, what a fantastic appointment. Another Wenger type appointment where, nobody thought he would be as good as he was. However, if that appointment flopped, I don't think it would have been Mikel Arteta getting the stick. I think it would have been Gazidis and the rest of the guys on the board who would have been getting it in the neck from the fans, from the pundits, etc. Because they'd be looking on it and saying, well, listen, why did you go and appoint such an inexperienced guy to take over from such a big, huge manager like Arsene Wenger, who'd been in charge for 22 years? And it looks like, they've taken that into account. They've looked on it and they thought to themselves, it's just too much of a risk right now. And at the last minute, they've decided to go with the more experienced, even though he's very young, the more experienced manager in Unai Emery. And for me, it is a sensible decision. It is the right decision. And there's been pundits out there and, various different people really sort of, it's a contrast really, because I look at the fans and I look at some of the pundits. So with a lot of the pundits out there, they're like moaning about the whole process and why didn't they give it to Arteta? And now, why should it be given to Arteta? He's not managed yet, right? And I agree with this decision by Arsenal. Mikel Arteta could turn out to be a fantastic manager. Everybody has to start from somewhere. But to take over from Arsene Wenger, who's been in charge for so long with no experience. I mean, we saw with David Moyes when he took over from Fergie, and he had experience of managing. He'd been at Everton for a long time, and he'd done a great job at Everton, even though he hadn't won anything. And even he found the spotlight of managing such a big club really, really tough, and they ended up getting rid of him in no time. This needed an experienced head. Now, there's other people out there moaning about the process that Arsenal have put in place. Now, listen, as long as you get to the correct conclusion, that's fine by me, right? You can have a process in place and you can be following that process. It's like you're buying a car, for instance, and you've got your eye on a car and you're thinking, yeah, that car's the right car. I really like that car. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you spot a bargain elsewhere, which is a better car than you was about to buy. What do? Continue because you've been doing the process and you've gone to look at that car a few times and, it looked good and you already sort of said to that person you was going to buy it. What do? You turn down the better car because you had a process going that way. No, you go and get what's best for you. And what's best for Arsenal right now is an experienced manager, a manager that's won things, and I think they've got that in Unai Emery. I know, again, I saw some other pundits saying, well, we should have got Simeone, we should have got Allegri. In an ideal world, I agree with them. But Allegri's already said he's staying at Juventus. He's happy he's staying at Juventus, right? Luis Enrique apparently wanted a king's ransom to come. And, Simeone, again, is staying at Atletico Madrid. He's not leaving unless you're going to go in there and make an absolutely ridiculous offer. And then even then he might not leave. So if somebody like Unai Emery's turned up, he literally left his PSG job yesterday when his contract ran out. Why not go in to get him? And the fans seem happy with it. We did a poll yesterday. Yesterday when I did the show, the original Transfer Daily show, I asked fans, who would you rather, would you rather Arteta or would you rather Unai Emery? 82% of you said Unai Emery. 82%. That shows you that if they would have got Arteta, it wouldn't have gone down well with the fans. And also, if fans would have found out that Emery was available, well, we knew anyway yesterday, and that we were talking to Emery and that we passed him up, instead of getting somebody like an Arteta, fans would have been really, really upset with that. And again, you want a manager to get off to a start where the fans are behind him. And I think the fans are going to be behind this appointment. Most of the fans that I've seen, looking at it and saying, all right, maybe I would have liked an Allegri or Simeone as my first choice, but this is actually a good choice as a manager. And look at his record. He's, he was at Valencia. They were in the top 4 for the 3 seasons that he was at Valencia. He did okay at Valencia. He went to Sevilla. He won the Europa League 3 times. 3 consecutive years he won the Europa League. It hasn't been done by nobody. And, that was with Sevilla. And we're not talking about that they're one of the top elite clubs. That's Sevilla. That's a lesser club than Arsenal. And he guided them to 3 Europa Leagues in a row. Remember, the last one that he won was against Liverpool. And he pulled off a tactical masterclass against Jurgen Klopp, losing 1-0 at half-time, come back to beat them 3-1 comprehensively in the end. That was against Liverpool, against Jurgen Klopp, right? Then he's gone to PSG, he's won 8 trophies there, he's won 7 cups, and he's won the league. He won, remember, we're not talking about a manager that's just been unceremoniously sacked in his last job. We're talking about a guy that's leaving PSG this season having just won the treble, right? Now, I know that there's going to be fans out there saying, well, yeah, I could do that at PSG, blah, blah, blah. No, there's some decent, listen, yes, you're right. The spending power of PSG is way above any other team in France, but there's some good teams in France. And remember, Monaco won the league last year, so he had to make a comeback on top of Monaco, and he did, right? He's had to manage big egos there. Now, I read in some places where they say, yeah, but, with certain egos, he had problems. Listen, he still managed them, right? Yes, he may have had problems with Neymar and Cavani arguments and stuff like that, having to deal with those, but ultimately, if you look on it, they won the treble. Yeah, they won the treble. So he couldn't have done bad, could he? Right? Where he's failed has been in the Champions League for PSG. Now, they got knocked out by Barcelona last year, got knocked out by Real Madrid this year. And has there any big shame in getting knocked out to those 2 clubs? I mean, yes, I suppose you could look on it and say the manner of it, because the one against Barcelona, they were leading. They had that big lead, 6-1, and then Barcelona came back away from home and beat them. They should really have gone through that year. Real Madrid, they come up against this year, a very good Real Madrid team in the Champions League. But listen, I think that this guy is a very good appointment. When you look at him and you look at his attributes, it's said that he's very meticulous. There's this story going around about how he used to give all of his players, a memory stick to go home and study tactics on, and how there was one player that he suspected wasn't looking at the tactics on it, so he gave him a blank one, right? And then asked him about how it had gone and what he'd seen on it. And when the player was making it up, he realised that this guy wasn't watching it because he'd given him a blank memory stick. You know, there's all the stories of how meticulous he is, that he does a lot of the video analysis himself. So he's a very meticulous guy. He's a tactician. He likes to sit down and work out tactics on different teams. Something that Arsene Wenger was criticised a lot about. That Arsene Wenger had this philosophy of just saying, go out there and do your thing. You guys are great players. You know, just use your skills and you will overcome that team. Unai Emery lets every single player know what their job is, and he expects them to carry it out. He's very meticulous and he's very hands-on, you know, very one-on-one. He's a coach. And that's what Arsenal want right now. They've got the structure in place for all the other things. They want a guy that's going to coach and get the very best out of players. And this is what this guy is known for, getting the very, very best out of players. Meticulous, great coach. And also, another thing that I think that Arsenal fans will like is that watch him on the touchline, right? If you watch this guy on the touchline, he's very animated, you know? Very, very animated. I heard Guillaume Balaguer saying that one of the players at Valencia, I think it is, said they used to call him the radio because he's always up and down barking instructions, telling. Very similar to, say, a Conte and to a Klopp, to a Guardiola. He's very similar in that way, that he lives and breathes the whole game. He's not like how Arsene Wenger used to be, where he'd just be sat down there, very quiet, getting up occasionally. This guy's on the touchline, barking instructions right throughout the game. I think Arsenal fans will like that. It's one of the things that over the years, a lot of Arsenal fans have complained, oh, Arsene Wenger, he never gets up off of his seat. This guy will be off of his seat. He will be off of his seat. He will be animated. He will be telling and barking instructions. So it's a good appointment. The only downside, as I said on yesterday's show, is that he doesn't speak great English, apparently. He's not a great English speaker. But then, when Antonio Conte came here, he didn't speak great English. He won the title. Mauricio Pochettino didn't speak great English, but he's not done a bad job. And then, you know what? When you even look at you're talking about Emery, and there's people casting doubts, especially some of these pundits casting doubts on Emery, are the same pundits who are bigging up Pochettino. If you compare Pochettino to Unai Emery, very similar in age, very similar in styles and a tactical approach and that, there's one difference. Unai Emery has won things, won a lot of things. I know, even taking the PSG stuff out of it for right now, what he's done with Sevilla. So we've got ourselves a very, very good manager here, and I'm happy with the appointment, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. What I'm really excited to see is how he will get the best out of what we've already got. How will he get the best out of players like Hector Bellerin, Xhaka? I'm going to be really interested to see that, you know, because this is one of the things that obviously they're going to be looking at him and saying, we want you now to get the best out of some of those players. Kolasinac. You know, it's going to be interesting times. And also, who's he going to keep and who's he going to get rid of? We know we need to strengthen the defensive area. And of course, Socrates is a guy that apparently Arsenal are looking at bringing in. There's other defenders, Leno in goal. But now that he's in place, and we know we've got this structure, recruitment structure, but how this recruitment structure works is those guys, Sanelli, Mislintat, they go out there and they get these players, but they will be going to Emery and they'll be getting his input now as well into the type of player he thinks needs to come in to strengthen Arsenal. So it's going to be really, really exciting to see what he does this summer. And also, as I said, it's going to be interesting to see, can he get the best out of some of these players? Will he keep Alex Iwobi or will he sell him? Will he keep him and try and get the best out of him? How will Iwobi play under a guy like, you know, Emery? It could be really, really interesting to see how that all pans out. And also, what sort of budget are Arsenal going to give to him? There's been the rumours about £50 million. I've heard rumours about £80 million. Listen, it could be, there's another rumour I heard about £100 million. Plus as well, they're going to sell a couple of players, Arsenal, so that will generate money as well. So he may have a fairly decent budget. Remember, up front, I don't think he really needs to buy much. Maybe I think he could do with a winger up front. And obviously, definitely, I think we need 2 centre-backs, we need a defensive midfielder, and we need a goalkeeper. The spine needs strengthening. It's going to be really interesting to see how he approaches that. So I think really interesting times at Arsenal. I'm going to ask again in a poll, are you guys happy with the appointment of Unai Emery? Yesterday, I asked you whether you wanted him or Arteta. 82% of you said you wanted him. But now I want to find out, are you going to be happy with the appointment of Unai Emery, which should be announced later on this week? Let me know in the poll. Some sad news yesterday. Santi Cazorla is leaving Arsenal Football Club. It was officially announced yesterday on Arsenal's website. And it's really, really sad because he's always been a massive favourite at Arsenal Football Club. One of my favourite players. And I have to say, I've met him a few times, and he's got to be one of the nicest footballers I have ever met. Such a gentleman, such a nice guy. And it wasn't just, you know, on the 3 occasions that I met him that he was nice. Everybody around the club tells me that he's like that all the time. Ivan Gazidis put a statement out yesterday. He said, Santi is always one of my favourite players to watch. His natural ability with both feet, his speed of thought and movement was central to our best performances in recent years. He plays with a joy and freedom which is very rare. We wish him well for the future and thank him for his important contribution to our club. And I think that everybody will second that. Santi Cazorla, 180 appearances, 29 goals, 33 years of age now, signed for us in 2012 from Malaga, and he's been brilliant ever since. And if you actually look at the decline of Arsenal, the steep decline, which has been over the last 18 months, that coincides with him being injured and completely out of the team. And of course, he's had that horrible Achilles injury where, you know, every time he's tried to come back, he's had setbacks. He had to have that horrible skin graft onto his Achilles. I mean, it's been simply a terrible time for him with injuries. I wish him all the best. I think he's going to be going back to Villarreal. He's going to be training there with a hope to get him back to full fitness and playing again. I really hope that he can be back and playing again. And I've got to say that, you know, I think he's probably the most loved player at Arsenal Football Club over recent years. Even when players were getting flack, he never, ever picked up flack. And he was a really, really loved player at Arsenal Football Club. And going to be very, very difficult to replace because he's such a brilliant player. So Santi Cazorla, legend of the club, moving on. And, you know, really, really sad to see that after his long service here. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. It's all about Unai Emery. Not even about players today because hardly any players have been linked because this story has just overtaken everything. It's all about Unai Emery and exciting times at Arsenal.